Hey everybody, it's been a week and here's my full review of the Surface Pro 3. First of all, let me come clean with the greatest error I made in my first impression. Surface Pro 3 is actually a good tablet. It's actually pretty good to use. It's very light, works wonderfully well in your hand, and the basic fact is it can actually replace your laptop, and it does a pretty darn good job. It has basic applications like Flipboard, and the games. They have a wonderful selection of games, and what you do most on the tablet is you do media consumption, and Surface Pro 3 works very well as a media consumption device, a play device essentially. So this will definitely be replacing my iPad Air, and again, I have to say this is a great tablet, and I made a mistake in my initial impression. So let's talk a little bit about the hardware itself. The hardware, I've had some problems with the initial device that I received. It was giving me phantom touches around this area. I don't know why. I got it replaced on Monday, and this is my second unit. I've actually experienced some phantom touches as well, but not as much as the first one. The first one was really annoying, and I just couldn't put up with it anymore, so I just went out on Monday and got it replaced, because in the desktop mode when I was trying to use it, it was impossible to use. This one, even though it exhibited phantom touches, it has been rare, and it's actually pretty usable. And there was a update on Friday, and it's been pretty good so far. I haven't had any phantom touch experience since then. That doesn't mean it's been solved in any way whatsoever, but I haven't experienced it since then. So it could be fixed, it could not be fixed. If it is not, I'm just unlucky twice probably, and I'll probably get it replaced. I'll probably end up going to the Microsoft store and see what they can do for me. The next part is the screen. This screen is gorgeous. It's seriously gorgeous. Look at the viewing angle. The viewing angle is amazing. The brightness is fantastic. It works well outdoors. And indoors, you can actually reduce the brightness to the lowest level, and you can actually still use it. We are in a fairly bright environment, so even then, you can still see it pretty clearly. But for the review purposes, I'm going to keep the brightness to the highest level because it can have a better clarity after all. But let me tell you, the screen's amazing. The screen size is actually perfect. It's just a great balance between portability and ability to get things done. The 3:2 ratio actually works really well. With the previous Surface Pro, if I'm holding it like this in a landscape mode, it actually hurts my hand after a while. With the Surface Pro 3, it's actually quite comfortable holding it in landscape as well as in portrait. The portrait mode is also pretty good. You can hold it really, really nicely. So it's really a good device in terms of screen and screen proportion wise. As I mentioned in my previous segment, this one that I bought for the review, it's actually a Core i5 1.9 gigahertz processor with 4 gigs of RAM. My Surface Pro 2 has the Core i5. It's the 256 version with 8 gigs of RAM. I must say, I haven't found any significant performance improvement in the Surface 3 as far as speed and whatnot are concerned. I would say the speed difference in real life between Surface Pro 2 Core i5 and Surface Pro 3 Core i5 is negligible. I'm sure some of you will probably experience the improvement, but with what I do every day, at least within the last 1 week, I haven't had a chance to see the improvement in any way whatsoever. The battery life. The battery life has been pretty good. It has come close to 9 hours when I'm using it at the lowest brightness mode, and when you turn up the brightness, it does decrease the life quite significantly, but it's nothing to complain about. Really, it's not. It's actually a pretty good device. It competes pretty well with the rest of the mobile devices, especially the Ultrabooks. It obviously doesn't have this crazy long life as the MacBook Air, but seriously, it's a good device. You can use it all day, and you can be pretty happy about it. So let's talk a little bit about the pen here. As I've mentioned in my previous review, this pen actually uses a battery. It's the quadruple A battery, because it's switched to the N-Trick technology from the Wacom technology. What that means for you is that the pressure sensitivity level went down from 1024 to 256 pressure sensitivity levels. So the pressure sensitivity is definitely going down. It might have some impact on artists, because you want to have different level of sensitivity. The more there is, the better it is, obviously. And I understand that there's also some issues with the drivers and whatnot. Wacom is much more widely used in the art world. For me, it has zero impact, because essentially what I do is take notes and draw some random doodles anyways. Doesn't impact me at all. But one of the cool things about the N-Trick technology and the pen that they've done is actually this little back button, the purple button here. At first, I thought it was awkward because I'm used to using this as an eraser in the two previous versions, and this is no longer an eraser. It's actually a quick wake up button of some sort. So when you have the device on, regardless of where you are, you press this button and OneNote pops up, which is a really, really useful thing. And something even more useful is after you turn the device off and the device is completely off, the screen is off, and you can press this button and OneNote will actually pop up as well. So here, it is locked, so if you have a password and whatnot, you have access to OneNote. You can start taking notes here, draw some doodles, and then it'll get recorded, but the device will be locked. If you need to unlock it, it'll ask you for your password and whatnot. For this particular account, I don't have a password, so for the demo purposes, I'm using this account. And here, you'll notice recorded right here. So it's actually very, very useful. The eraser part is now assigned to this bottom button right here. The top button acts as a right-click button. So it's actually pretty good. It's a 2 button. So draw, select, erase. So it actually works out pretty well. And definitely there's palm rejection as well. It works very, very well. When talking about the pen usage, for those of you who are used to using a pen on an iPad and comparing it to this pen on a Surface Pro, don't bother. The iPad capacitive pen experience is terrible. Unless you write like a kindergartner, really big letters, it doesn't really work for me. This pen is very, very concise. You can draw very little minute things, and it actually works. The edge of the screen sensitivity is amazing as well. You know, you can draw it like you're drawing on a piece of paper. You can write like you're writing on a piece of paper. You have so many options to switch colors and whatnot. It's just a pleasure to use. It really is. Now let's talk a little bit about the type cover. The typing experience is pretty good, as I've mentioned before. The touchpad experience has significantly improved. It's nowhere close to the magical experience on an iPad Air or MacBook Pros. MacBook Air and MacBook Pros for sure. But that doesn't mean that, this is bad in any way whatsoever. It's been pretty good. There's very little I can complain about this. Some people have mentioned the flex element of this keyboard. I do experience that there is a minute amount of flex in the keyboard when using in a double magnetic mode like this. One of the cool things that I've learned to appreciate in this double magnetic mode is that the flex that people complain about, it actually gives me a feeling of having a deeper keystroke, essentially key travel. So I feel like I have a much more premium keyboard relative to one of the mobile device keyboards with a very shallow key travel. On the other hand, I'm not sure if the value of $130 for this keyboard is justified. What I mean by that is, I always have my type cover connected to my Surface Pro 1 and Surface Pro 2. But with the Surface Pro 3, what I've noticed myself doing is I keep taking it off because I want to use it as a tablet. And in the tablet mode, the type cover is just an annoying thing that happens to be in the way. This little pen loop that came with the type cover, this one right here, I put it on the type cover because it came with the type cover, and at the Microsoft Store and the ads, I've seen it being put on the type cover. Retrospectively, I would put this on the Surface itself. I haven't figured out where I want to put it yet. It's probably going to be on this side to keep the pen with the Surface Pro at all time. This side obviously you can't use. This side's got so many ports and stuff that it doesn't make sense at all. So it's either going to be this side, which will be in the way of the volume button, or you can put it on the top because there's more space up here. So I haven't really figured out where I wanted it yet, but it's going to be somewhere. That is a certainty. Again, this keyboard, nothing to complain about. It's beautiful. It protects the device. And if you're traveling, if you're on the go, this is definitely the accessory that you want to have. After mentioning a lot of good things about the Surface Pro, I gotta complain about this one. The wireless connection. It's good. It now has the AC relative to the N that the previous two had. So you've got better range and all that stuff. I have files at home, and my speed is 50 megs down. The speed is pretty good. There's nothing to complain about. But when using the Surface Pro, there is something to complain about. When you have the Bluetooth on, the speed goes down on the Surface devices. Surface 1, Surface 2, Surface 3 all suffer from the same thing, with varying degrees of suffering, obviously. On the Surface Pro 1, the speed goes down by at least 50% when you have the Bluetooth on. On Pro 2 and Pro 3, it goes down by about 10 megs. So, it's significant enough. At 50 megs down, you don't experience trouble with most of the websites for video streaming and all that stuff, but it's still annoying to know that, the speed goes down by 10 megs when you have Bluetooth on. With Surface Pro 2, I was able to turn off all the Bluetooth stuff. I don't use any Bluetooth accessories with Surface Pro 2, so I don't have to face that issue. On Surface Pro 3, sadly, this pen is a Bluetooth device. That means Bluetooth has to be on all the time to take advantage of the pen input and this little button here. That means Bluetooth is always on, and I'm always suffering a decrease of 10 megs all the time, thanks to the Marvel chip that Microsoft has decided to put in. I'm sure there's a clear benefit to it, but I wonder why they can't get another Wi-Fi chip that can perform well with both Wi-Fi and Bluetooth being on at the same time. To wrap up the hardware part, I want to say thank you to the Microsoft Surface hardware team. They've been really amazing. They actually listen to the needs of the users, and it's been really, really impressive. Every generation of Surface, it's gotten better, and this is probably the most impressive Surface to date, and there's very little to complain about. They've done a good job of ironing out a lot of the issues already, and I'm sure Surface Pro 4 is going to be even more better. It'll impress us even more. When it comes to the software part, everything becomes questionable. Obviously, the desktop part is pretty normal. It's actually pretty good to use. Very stable, better than any of the Windows versions that has come before it, and there's very little to complain about. The only issue I have is I tend to connect it with my 27-inch monitor, and there are scaling issues between the screen here and the 27-inch monitor, and I couldn't find the right balance for the scaling. Eventually, I'm sure it'll work out. But what I really wish Microsoft has done is allow the user to set scaling for different monitors instead of setting this one display scaling for both monitors, which is kind of stupid if you ask me. The next is the Metro interface. It's really pretty. It really is. It's probably one of the prettiest OS out there. But that's where it ends. The good stuff. These widgets, the live tiles, are terrible. They're a waste of space. They are terrible at displaying information. If you look at the calendar, there's spot for one more calendar event for today. Same thing applies to email. If you set the size to maximum, which is large, you can get a maximum of 3 emails visible to you. Calendar, limited. Almost everything is like that. Windows doesn't exist all by itself. There are competitors out there. So when you're thinking about live tiles, like I tend to imagine the Android widgets, and these live tiles come nowhere close to Android widgets in a couple of different ways. The first thing is the ability to display information. The way Microsoft has implemented it has been quite terrible. There are some third-party live tiles that actually does a better job at displaying information for sure. So credit goes to them. But at the end of the day, at its core, the problem is that these live widgets are nothing more than a shortcut to the application. What that means is that, let's say you have this calendar event, right? You tap on it, you don't get to that calendar event. It opens up the calendar application. The same thing applies to the people live tile, the email live tile, the image live tile, photo live tiles. It's all the same. They're just a shortcut. So when you see something interesting, you tap on it. All you end up is you end up opening the application, and you have no idea where that image or particular thing came from, and that's really silly. They really should fix that. It's definitely not intuitive. Let me put it that way. And compared to the Android counterpart, it's just simply unacceptable. The next beef I have with Microsoft is this long-term issue of calendar. I really don't care who snubbed who. I don't care if Google is being mean to Microsoft. I don't care if Microsoft is being stubborn. It doesn't really matter. You have this wonderful product, and I want to use the calendar. This calendar application is actually pretty decent. With the glaring fact that I cannot use it with Google. It just doesn't work. They don't support it. And it doesn't really matter. People tell me Google turn off the access. They're no longer offering Exchange and all that stuff. You know what? There is a history of drama between the two companies, and I'm not going to blame anybody at this point. But seriously, Microsoft, you have an underdog product, and you really have to support IMAP. Everybody does. Apple does it. Linux does it. Why can't you do it? Why are you being so stubborn and forcing me to switch to this really inferior Outlook calendar? It's terrible, by the way. I'm sticking with Google, and I'm not going to switch, not to Microsoft in the foreseeable future. So I want that support. There is an application out there called One Calendar that does syncing with the Google Calendar. It actually does a pretty good job. It's not the greatest thing out there, but I appreciate it. I really do, because it allows me to check my calendar on this Windows device, and you'll find that in the link. The next issue is notifications. The notifications on Windows is primitive. They're still back in 2005 or something. I don't know what's going on there. But if you want us to be serious about Surface Pro being a tablet, you have to have better notifications, period. Even macOS has better notification at this point, which is kind of silly because it's supposed to be a desktop operating system, and you're supposed to be the hybrid that allows me to use the desktop mode and the tablet mode, and the notification is just terrible. Just looking at these little live tiles, it's not enough. I can say the same thing about Windows Phone too. It's just simply it's not enough. You need a better notification system. Apple has the decency to steal from Android. Good for them. You better do something as well. Give up some money that you've been taking from Android manufacturers and just copy that notification. I would thank you. Seriously, please do that. The next thing is this on-screen keyboard. Come on. Please. If you can't do it right, let somebody else do it. Okay? Again, let me bring in Apple here. They've learned that their keyboard sucks, and they're allowing third party to actually have keyboards starting with iOS 8. You gotta do something about this. This is just a terrible keyboard. Again, if you want it to be a serious tablet, competing in the serious tablet space, I want to use the on-screen keyboard, not with the type cover. Type cover, as good as it is, as I mentioned before in the earlier segment, I'm starting to use this as a tablet, and I don't want this clunky thing attached to it. I want to use it fully as a tablet, and on-screen keyboards become very, very important. And this 3:2 ratio, screen ratio, it actually works really well. So you might as well develop something good or let somebody else develop it for you. You know, pick one of the Android keyboard manufacturers. They're brilliant. Yeah. The next thing is the Microsoft Office. Seriously, do something. iPad has a touch-friendly Microsoft Office. This is not touch-friendly. It's really not. Do something. Okay, please. As much as I complain about the software element of Surface Pro 3, at the end of the day, it is still a great device. There's very little to complain about in the desktop mode. It actually works very well as a device, a computer. In the Metro mode, it's usable now. Most of the apps that I tend to use for media consumption, news consumption, and whatnot, it works quite well. But there's still so much room for Microsoft to grow, and I just want Microsoft to be a bit more competitive in terms of how it's being implemented, because if they're serious about this space, they have to work a little harder in this space. They can't keep on acting like the old Microsoft, back in the day, where they develop a new operating system or improvements every half a decade. That's not the case anymore. Everybody else is running circles around them, and the improvements are coming on annual basis now, if not shorter, and Microsoft needs to jump into that framework of faster improvements and listening to the customers more. If anything, the hardware team should teach the software team a few things about how to listen to customers and make improvement fairly quickly, because the hardware team has done a brilliant job and the software team is seriously lagging behind. So to wrap up the review here, would I buy this? Yes, absolutely. I already did. I bought it. It's for me to use, and I'm going to use the hell out of it, and I'm going to enjoy it for sure. It's not exactly cheap compared to the competitors. Microsoft says that it's about the same price as MacBook Air, but you know what? MacBook Air is not completely worthless a few months down the line. Typical Microsoft Surfaces have a shelf life of roughly about 8 months from the launch day until they jump into the bargain bin and become very, very cheap. I expect you'll find the Surface Pro 3 in the bargain bin by the time spring comes around next year, with the prices of somewhere around $600-700 for this exact same device, which I essentially pay roughly about $1,300 including tax for. So the price is an issue. Is it not worth it compared to the rest of the devices? It really is worth it. It's a great device. It's actually worth the money, especially when you think about the engineering effort that went behind the scene for the Surface Pro 3. Is really, really impressive. Just for that alone, I think you should pay Microsoft money as a reward of some kind, because they really did a damn good job. Another thing is, as much as people complain about typing, I've typed on this, and I see this as an enjoyable experience. I can see myself typing a 20-page paper on this, drawing charts, taking notes. As a student, as a professional, you would not have any issues with it. This is a great meeting, note-taking device, as well as being to operate fully as a full-fledged computer in the business world. As a student, there is no other device that is better than this. Period. Unless you have special needs to run software that demands a significant amount of processing power, graphical processing power, or you want to play insane amount of games with full amount of power and whatnot. This is a perfect device. Again, thank you for watching, and I'll be back with some other devices in the very near future. Thank you.